You are sitting at a dinner table you have never visited before. Someone across from you is speaking, and then it stops. Everything freezes just for a second because you have been here before. You know exactly what they are about to say. You know the smell of the room, the sound of the chairs, the way the light falls across the table. You are certain of it, completely, absolutely certain. And then the moment passes, and you are left with something that feels less like a memory and more like a warning. That feeling has a name. Most people laugh it off. Scientists spent decades trying to explain it, and what they eventually found is not reassuring, because déjà vu is not a quirk, it is not a glitch in the matrix. It is a window into something happening inside your brain that you have no control over, and once you understand what that is, you will never feel it the same way again. Here is what everyone assumes. Déjà vu means you are somehow remembering something from a past life or picking up a signal from a parallel universe or experiencing a premonition of the future. These explanations feel satisfying because déjà vu feels supernatural. It feels too precise to be an accident, but here is the problem. The real explanation is stranger than any of those theories and far more unsettling. For centuries, nobody had an answer, not even scientists. The ancient Greeks thought it was a trick of the gods. Sigmund Freud called it a failure of repression, a wish the brain was trying to bury. Others blamed fatigue, stress, the early edges of epileptic episodes. Some researchers refuse to study it at all because it vanishes in seconds and leaves no trace behind. You cannot put déjà vu under a microscope. You cannot measure it in a lab. The only thing every theory agreed on was this: something is slipping. Something in the machinery fails just for a moment, and for a very long time nobody could figure out what. Your brain does not run on a single system. It runs on two. At every moment, your mind is processing reality through parallel tracks, perception and memory, both operating simultaneously, both feeding information to your consciousness in real time. Under normal conditions, these two systems are perfectly synchronized. You see something, your brain checks it against what you have experienced before, and the verdict comes back instantly, new or familiar. That is how memory is supposed to work. But sometimes, just sometimes, those two systems fall out of sync. One track moves a fraction of a second faster than the other. It is a gap so small you would never notice it. Milliseconds. But in that gap something goes wrong. The slower system receives the same information a tiny moment later, and because it arrives with a delay, the brain does not register it as present. It registers it as past. The brain looks at what is happening right now and says, I have already processed this. This has already occurred. And so it stamps that moment, that brand new, never-before-experienced moment with the label already seen, in French, déjà vu. That feeling of absolute certainty, it is not a memory, it is a filing error. Your brain reached into the wrong drawer and pulled out the wrong label. And here is the part that should make you pause. You felt certain, not slightly familiar, not vaguely reminiscent, certain. You were convinced in that moment that you had lived it before, and you were completely wrong. Which raises a question nobody wants to ask. If your brain can manufacture that level of certainty from nothing, if it can take a moment that never happened and make it feel undeniably real, then what else has it done this to? What other moments in your life have carried that same feeling of absolute truth? What other memories feel solid and factual in yours, but were quietly assembled by a system that sometimes misfires? Think about how many times you have been that certain. About a memory, about a conversation, about something you witnessed with your own eyes. Certainty does not mean accuracy. Your brain does not flag its own mistakes, it buries them. Researchers have found that déjà vu is actually more common in people whose brains are working well. The fact-checking regions of the mind, the parts that catch errors, that flag inconsistencies, that say wait, something is wrong here, are fully active. Déjà vu is the moment they catch the mistake and correct it. That eerie, uncomfortable feeling you get is the exact moment your brain realizes it lied to you and tries to fix it. Most of the time, that system works perfectly and you never notice the error at all. That is what makes déjà vu so disturbing. You only experience it when the glitch is caught. The times it is not caught, the times the false certainty slips through unchallenged, you would never know. You would simply walk away with a memory that feels true. A conviction that feels earned, a certainty that was manufactured by a system moving too fast for its own good, and you would never question it. Your brain is not a camera, it is not a recorder. It is a machine that constructs reality on the fly at incredible speed, making thousands of small decisions every second about what is real and what is not, what happened and what did not, what you should trust and what you should question. And déjà vu is the rare moment when you get to see that machine make a mistake in real time. It surfaces for just a second, it lets you feel the error, and then it closes again. So the next time it happens, that strange, certain, impossible feeling that you have lived this moment before, remember what it actually is. Not a memory from another life, not a signal from somewhere else. It is your brain catching itself in the middle of a lie, which means somewhere in a moment you will never identify, in a memory you will never question, it did not catch itself in time. And you never knew.